Trey's team. And that's nothing against Jimmy. We made that decision a year ago, and we're going with that. And we're not going to mess around with that anymore. And I don't think we really have messed around with that much, but once we made that decision, we did. And Jimmy understands that fully. He's a big guy, and it's nothing against him either. That's a business decision, and that's what makes it not awkward. Yeah, it's tough, but there's contracts or stuff that you have to do. And that's when I feel like we're doing that as good as we can. And that is possible because of the type of guy Jimmy is and the type of relationship we have and the circumstances. Everyone, I think if you look at it, you can see why it got to this with the surgery and when it happened. And we understand it, and it'll take care of itself. But Jimmy knows we're going with Trey. Trey knows we're going with Trey, and our team does. So and everyone likes both the guys. So it is what it is.
Is Kyle Shanahan handing the keys to Trey Lance a mistake? And Zay, would you do the honors?
I think after looking at this question and really mulling it over after 24 hours of rest, woke up, ate some breakfast, was like, all right, I got my decision. I think this is not a mistake whatsoever. You have to give the rookie the keys to see if he's able to drive the car. That's plain and simple. You're not going to know if you're ready to drive a car unless you're in it and you're driving it by yourself. You have to let Trey Lance move with this team. I've said it last season. I still believe it to this day. I said it earlier in the show. I think the 49ers are arguably one of the most talented teams in the NFL if you have a fully healthy team. Their team is really stout. They have running backs for days that can run the ball when healthy. They have receivers out there that know how to play the game of football. It was just that one element that prohibited that, and that was the quote-unquote Jimmy G doesn't have a strong arm, and he can't throw the ball the distances that you would love to see. Trey Lance has the intangibles. The question is his accuracy, and he's able to read the defense. He had a full year to read the team. He had playoff experience watching these teams play against the 49ers throughout the entire season. He knows the playbook. He has to show that he can execute during this season. The only way you can do that is getting your lumps and bruises. I still think the 49ers are going to be a stout team this year just based upon what they have. You just have to allow Trey Lance to go through the bumps and bruises early on. Now, how long is his leash is a different question. Is Shanahan going to give him the time to really show that he can make some moves, make some plays, or is he only a one-and-done year where they're like, if he doesn't have a good season, they're going to immediately pull the plug and find someone else to play that position at quarterback? It's the biggest question because the Rams have a win now. The 49ers have a win now team all around. It's just a quarterback that's in question. Is our quarterback ready? Is he able to help us win more games, or is it going to be a project that's going to take us a little longer than we anticipate? So right now, I think it's the right move. I don't think it's a mistake because, like I said, you have to allow the young guy to try out this offense to see if he's ready or not.
Yeah, I think with the 49ers and this whole Trey Lance situation, I think it's one of the more under-discussed storylines in the NFL that the 49ers, they had something going with Jimmy G. They got to a Super Bowl, came very close to winning it. And I know the following year they struggled, and that's when they decided to pivot. They traded 3 first-round picks to move up to that number 3 pick with the Dolphins, and they get Trey Lance, a guy who has all the physical attributes, but he sat out the 2020 season as well. His college, North Dakota State, is not an FBS school, so they didn't even have a season. So this guy has not played a full season in 2 years, and the competition he played against was not the best of the best. It was FCS. He was great at North Dakota State. But that's where this gets really interesting. The 49ers had, I think they reached their ceiling last year with Jimmy Garoppolo as their starting quarterback. I think things went as well as they possibly could going into Green Bay, winning that game, going into Dallas, winning that game when Jimmy Garoppolo outplayed Dak Prescott. And then they fell short against the Rams. If they have a better quarterback, can they win that game? Who knows? It was very close. But Trey Lance, he is so fascinating because if he could be that guy for San Francisco, if he's even just a slight upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo, I think he could take the 49ers to the promised land. And it's so interesting because when we compare those quarterbacks of the class of 2021, Mac Jones, he went to a pretty good situation, and he did a good job with New England last year, leading them to the playoffs. But I don't think anyone viewed the Patriots last year as a Super Bowl contender. I don't think anyone's going to go into this season really viewing them as a realistic Super Bowl contender. And all the other quarterbacks, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, they were all drafted to not great situations, teams that weren't really ready to win right away. But the 49ers are, and we haven't seen Trey Lance. We don't really know if he is the guy, what he's going to look like once he hits the field on a consistent basis. We saw him a little bit last year, and we saw some flashes, some good, some bad. And I do think the 49ers would have traded Jimmy Garoppolo a little bit earlier. They just, the shoulder surgery didn't help their cause, and they just couldn't really find a deal that they thought was worth it. And maybe they're just waiting till late August if another team's quarterback gets hurt, because I still think Jimmy Garoppolo is a somewhat valuable asset that could help teams win games. I don't know if he's going to be a starting quarterback week 1 under center this year, but the 49ers made the decision, okay, it's the Trey Lance time. We are going to pivot off of Jimmy Garoppolo, trade these first-round picks to get him, and now Trey Lance is our guy. And they did that trying to reach their full ceiling, knowing that, okay, we've come very close to winning a Super Bowl with Jimmy G, but now it's time to pivot. We just need a little bit of a boost at the quarterback position. And I do think if you ultimately want Trey Lance to still be that guy, then you're going to need him to get in there right now, learn from his mistakes, and get under center. So I do think this was the right move for San Francisco. Whether they trade Jimmy G or not, I think they will before the start of the season. That's kind of how things are looking right now. But I don't know. I don't know if they could find a deal that they think is well worth it either. But Trey Lance is the guy, and I think it's one of the more fascinating storylines in training camp right now, not really knowing, okay, is Trey Lance going to lift this 49er team? Is he going to make them even better? Or are they going to fall short of where they got to last year without Jimmy G?
Yeah, so to pick things up where Zach left off, I would say this. I think that the 49ers made preordained mistakes, not a current one. And I will explain myself right about now. I know so many 49ers fans, right, including the one that we had on the show as a guest on the last episode, a big 49ers fan. He actually is from California. Shout out to my guy, Ray. He was on the show with us, and he himself said he was split on the drafting of Trey Lance.
The reason why I'm 50-50 on this is I don't dislike Lance, but I haven't seen enough of him. I just haven't seen enough of him. I didn't really like us jumping up and drafting him. It didn't really make sense to me, in my opinion, because I felt like we was a team that was just really like a piece or two away from a Super Bowl. As you can see this year, we made the NFC Championship game. You know, I would have liked us, if we was going to jump up that high, I would have liked to seen us get Kyle Pitts. I would have liked to seen us get the linebacker from Penn State that went to the Cowboys.
So many 49ers fans that don't know what to feel, just like Zach and myself, right? Is Trey Lance a guy? Is he ready? Did we make the right decision moving on from him? Should we stick with Jimmy G? We stuck with Jimmy G from Jump Street? So many splits in the 49ers. I know some. Actually, my cousin, Jamada, salute to him, big 49ers fan, even though he out here in New York, and he was like, get Jimmy G out of here. He sucks. I remember I had to politic with him at a family event talking about Jimmy G. He's like, get him out of there. I don't want to hear nothing about Jimmy G. So look, we have so many 49ers all over the place. Now, with that being said, back to the mistakes, the preordained ones, that is. The preordained mistakes that the 49ers made. Number one was, I would say, drafting up or trading up to draft Trey Lance, right? There we go. Because when you think about it, you have so many guys in that draft class that you could have actually traded up to got that could have helped your team compete for a championship. Mind you, you made the Super Bowl a couple years before. You were really only one piece away from actually getting back there and being a pretty darn good football team. Okay, when you talk about Jamar Chase, you could have got with that pick. Okay, that could have helped you. You think about it. The Bengals, right? They had a situation with their own quarterback, Joe Burrow. He got injured towards ACL. Okay, it was no given that he won't have the same situation again with that porous offensive line. And a lot of people got on them because they drafted a wide receiver, a weapon over an offensive line to protect Joe Burrow from injury, which is the same reasonings why 49ers wanted to move on from Jimmy G. But they said, you know what, screw it. We actually will go for it. We all going for it. That's what they did by drafting Jamar Chase. And guess what? It worked out for them because there was no guarantees. Joe Burrow with that offensive line could have got hurt again. He didn't. Okay, cool. Now we go back to that. You could have went after Jamar Chase. Hell, you could have went to the pits of hell and got you Kyle Pitts alongside my guy George Kittle in the middle. And now you're talking about a 2 tight end set. That's going to be very, very hard to stop, right? You could have went that way. Okay, cool. You wanted a quarterback. Mac Jones was available. Pro ready today. You are in win now mode today. So even
how
though
about Micah Parsons? Think he
Micah
could help?
Parsons defensively. And you in win now mode. What you doing taking a project? Another mistake that they made preordained was when they drafted Trey Lance. Why are we having my guy Jimmy G on the roster. If your main issue with Jimmy G was not wins, because it shouldn't have, the guy's a winner. If it's injury, why give him a full calendar to get injured again? All right, to get injured again, and now we in a situation like we are in right now, where the Mans have no trade stock. Mistake number 2. But when you talk about the current one, there is no current one. I think they're making the right decision now because they already, made their bet, and now they laying in it. You drafted Trey Lance, you traded up. Why not? Why are we not playing him? You know what I'm saying? He's going to play, and the guy's in the second year. The quarterback market is looking real lucrative for these quarterbacks out here. You want to see if your guy can play, because when he asks for that contract, you're going to be the ones to tell him yes or no. All right, or possibly have a study clause in there too. You know what I'm saying? If he studies or not. But that's why you start him today, because you already made your bed. You made your decision when you traded up to get him. So now live with it. And hopefully living with it comes with a better situation and a Super Bowl with it, because Jimmy G was pretty darn close. I mean, the guy got you injured to an NFC Championship game. And I hate the fact that a lot of people don't come at Mr. Kyle Shanahan, because I'm going to do so right now. If nobody going to do it, I'm going to do it, because my mans have a rap sheet of choking leads before the 49ers in the Super Bowl, okay, during the Super Bowl, okay, 10-point lead that Jimmy Garoppolo gave that defense, 3rd and 14, allowed Tyreek Hill to get open for a catch. Last year, okay, y'all had a lead. My guy, forgot the guy name. I would never remember his name, and I don't want to remember his name, because the guy dropped the interception where he had gloves on in a daggone dome.
Oh, Jaquiski Tart. He signed with the Eagles. Yeah, Jaquiski Tart.
You see what I'm saying? So Kyle Shanahan has equally been as detrimental as Jimmy G, and he flat out threw Jimmy G under the bus. We'll see what happens from here on out.
Well, it's funny because since Trey Lance was drafted, this is a topic we spoke a lot about from even before Trey Lance was drafted. We were going back and forth, which quarterback should the 49ers draft, Trey Lance or Mac Jones? But it's just interesting that I remember vividly, like at this time last year, we were debating what should the 49ers do at quarterback. And I was all in on starting Trey Lance right away. You wanted Jimmy G. And from right now, like I would say I was probably wrong. I would say the 49ers made the right decision going with Jimmy G. I mean, he got them to the NFC Championship game. They were very close to getting to a Super Bowl. And I know like you have some critiques of Kyle Shanahan. He hasn't been great with some leads in big games. But the reason why I view him so highly is because the majority of the other coaches in the league would just do so much to win as much as Kyle Shanahan has since he's been to San Francisco, getting us to a Super Bowl, getting this team to an NFC Championship game last year. So I'm a big fan of his. I'm a believer in him leading the way. And I do think they made the right decision. But I mean, I don't think they made the totally wrong call bringing Jimmy G back last year, because they were pretty close to winning it. And the fact that this is even a debate now, like, oh, I'm sure there are still some 49er fans that are not happy they're getting rid of Jimmy G, because he got that, you're getting with him, and you have no idea what you're getting with Trey Lance, a guy who hasn't played really a full season in 2 years, and it was coming from a lower competition level. And this is why the pick was so polarizing at the time, trading up to make it. And once again, like, I just don't really know what I'm getting with Trey Lance just yet, which is really complicating these things. But, did the 49ers not think he was ready last year? Did they think that, okay, we're going to go all in with Jimmy G? Because I think if that was their mindset, they made the right decision, only being a couple bad breaks away from getting to and winning a Super Bowl.
Real quick, Lil, before you get in here, I just wanted to say this thing about Trey Lance, and I think it's not a fair comparison to make, but it is the closest thing I could just relate him to. He is the closest thing to Colin Kaepernick that the 49ers have seen. And I think he has some type of potential to be that Colin Kaepernick player, where as soon as he touches the field, he makes an immediate impact, not only with his strength of arm, but his ability to run the ball down the field. I think that's something that the 49ers are looking at when they look at Trey Lance, because no one's going to say it, but I feel that the 49ers didn't give that Colin Kaepernick a fair shake once he kneeled down and took the knee and stuff like that. And they kind of like pushed him along to get off the team, essentially, when that happened. I think Trey Lance is going to be that situation where him putting input into that quarterback position puts them back into that impactful quarterback regime. I'm not saying that Kaepernick and Trey Lance situations are similar, because they're not, but I'm referring to the ability and skill set that they have. Trey Lance has a strong arm. Colin Kaepernick had a strong arm. Accuracy were both their issues. They were able really quick to move down the field. And I think that's something that they see when they play Trey Lance. He's like, he's the closest thing to Colin Kaepernick that we had at a quarterback position.
The 49ers really don't need themselves a guy. I know the league is trending towards, having that it factor at the quarterback spot, not a game manager. But Colin Kaepernick made a Super Bowl. People forgot about that. Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl. People forgot about that. So, I think if you play good defense and you do your job, which the 49ers have been doing, Kyle Shanahan has been doing, but when it comes to the fourth quarter, it's like we pivot to Jimmy Garoppolo. It's a team game. You got to make the interceptions when they're available to you. You got to call the right game when it's available to you. That's why it's a team game. If Jimmy G is a game manager, then you should be playing your part. Everybody should have everything nicked up. So if in case he makes a mistake, we live with it. And if he doesn't make a mistake, we do our job. We win a Super Bowl. It's just that simple. And I think when you go back to Trey Lance, even though he's getting the keys, yeah, like I said, you have to do it. You drafted him. Of course, you're going to start him. But it's like, yeah, they may look better offensively. Explosiveness, he'll add another element. How much does Kyle Shanahan want to use him as a runner? We'll see. He got that option now. But at the same time, it may not equate to anything better than what they've done. They made an NFC championship game. They made a Super Bowl. They might not get better than that. He doesn't guarantee them a Super Bowl. He just guarantees them looking a little bit better in the process of losing, possibly.
And this is what I mean about the NFC, because I personally would have Tampa Bay, the Rams, and I would even put the Packers at the top. But after those three teams, every other team has a ton of question marks. And there is a situation where Trey Lance does elevate the Niners and make them even better and makes their ceiling even higher. Who knows if that's going to happen this year, next year? He is their guy for the future, for the next few years at least. So, I think he is, if you were to ask me, Zach, who is one player going into this season that you're just going to be watching, that you're fascinated by? And for me, it's him, because I think he controls so much. He could, one way or another, he's going to be a big storyline. Whether he gets to San Francisco and he makes them even better and he takes the job and runs with it, or if he's not the guy and they're clearly worse, then that's not going to make the 49ers look too good. And for a franchise that has won a lot the last few years, their fans are so passionate. They expect a lot. Playing in an NFC West, which I think has gotten worse after Seattle loses Russell Wilson. I think San Francisco is the better team than Arizona, but you have the Rams there. San Francisco should be a playoff team, but who knows what you're getting with the quarterback position.
And this is why I go back to my point, of trading away Jimmy G when you drafted a guy, because let's say you don't cut him. And I think, like I said before, they're going to have to cut dude. I eventually see that. And if they don't, it's okay, because we know Trey Lance is going to struggle in some instances. He may not come out like Patrick Mahomes. He may come out like Patrick Mahomes. But I do think there's going to be an adjustment period. And if the fans get a little bit antsy and Jimmy Garoppolo is still on your bench and they I want Jimmy G back, and then not the rookies having pressure, it's what are we doing here? So that's why I think you should cut him. And then if you cut him, you just had a guy that got you to the Super Bowl. You cut him for nothing. It's you lose unless you win ultimately with Trey Lance. They'll be at his house. If Trey Lance is not that dude, remember the 49ers represent, bro. They represent. Look at the Rams games. They represent that building. They will pull up to Kyle Shanahan's house and throw rocks at this guy's window. If this guy is not the big deal because you had a guy in the room. So let's see. Trey Lance probably is going to be the guy. He probably is worth it. He probably was worth the trade up. He's probably worth it. We just don't know